Hello everyone, I am Yive once again just to quickly talk some Australian Survivor before the episode tonight. Look, I don't know how long we're gonna go live. We might go live right until the episode, or really until I'm done rambling about, Survivor. So, obviously, we'll give everyone a few minutes if they want to come into the stream, and then, I can really start to ramble. So before we begin, obviously, like, subscribe, turn those post notifications, and if you have any Survivor opinions, mention them on Twitter, DM me, comment down below, really hit me up. I would love to hear everyone's takes, and if you guys have any things you want me to dissect or go through, even though I will be doing a bigger deep dive after the season, where I will eventually post the episodes where I do like a real deep recaps on the season, but this is, before the episode. So, but let's just make sure we live real quick. Alright, hold on. Another thing I didn't think about was because I'm so used to one of the episodes starting at 7 p.m. now for me, because I'm in Melbourne time. I should have realized that, hey, maybe I should have started in half an hour, because then the episode will start at 7:30, not as opposed to 7. Because it already starts at 7. I think it's Tuesday. Hold on. Well, today's Tuesday. I don't fucking know. Whatever the logistics are, one of the days it starts at 7. Um, because I guess filming schedule. It was really funny because I was on one of the Facebook groups, and then all of a sudden, I this was like a few weeks ago. And it was like, it's on at 7. And I was like, it's on at 7. Like, I was planning on like having dinner with my family. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's at 7. Sorry. And I went out with my family. I came back and I had to rewatch the second half, well, the first half of the episode again because I didn't see it. But it's all good. So, how is everyone doing? I guess we want to say tonight or wherever you guys are from, depending on virus. That and we gotta mute that tab because otherwise it will repeat what I'm saying. So obviously, let me just see if Australian Survivor has posted an update of the players yet again. Because I know they did like a post of like these are the players who are yet at merge. Like, these are the people who made merge, but like who cares? Like we're past merge now. Now we care about who's actually still in the game, who's making a difference. All right. Hold up. Just real quick. Hmm. Okay. Survivor AU. I've got to check. I'll check on Twitter, check on Instagram, and I might check Facebook as well, maybe. I don't know. It really depends if I have energy to do that or not. To be honest with you guys, I have not, like, I remember like yesterday I was at a Melbourne premiere, not a premiere party, but I was at a Melbourne live viewing watch party, and damn, that's all I gotta say. Damn. I don't. If there's definitely photos out there, so if you want to know more about it, obviously let me know because I mean people do host them, and hopefully we can meet more epic people. Okay, so, hmm. Survivor AU, what have you posted? Which, by the way, the fact I have to call it Survivor AU instead of Australian Survivor, what the fuck? Like, I know AU is short for Australia, but like, come on, guys, you can do better. Alright. Okay, we see all the promos. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm currently trying to find the players left in the game. 3 days ago, do I want to download that? Maybe. I might download it. I'm probably going to download this picture. It's a picture of the merge, I believe. Wait, hold up. Is it the merge? Yeah, it's the picture of the merge people, but of course Jesse and PD are already gone. So I probably should have wrote spoilers in the pre-hangout, but at the same time, if you're clicking on this, of course it's spoilers because it's pre-episode, and yeah, I mean, obviously we all care about the show, which is why we're here. Okay, so that chat is loading. We love that. But anyways, okay, so cures. I have to keep closing my tabs because I keep forgetting. Like, oh yeah, because otherwise the episode is gonna hang when I do watch this episode. Also, if you guys want me to, obviously, like, this isn't a thing I have to do, but I'm open to definitely recording myself watching the episode live. But obviously, on my end, I'd have to mute the episode so I don't get copyright, so you guys can get like a live commentary on it. Okay. Facebook, we'll check Twitter real quick, and then I'll just start going into my opinions because it's already been almost 6 minutes. So, okay. Hmm. Can I see? I will say, I know this is an Australian Survivor like thing. I will say though, guys, there is a post that I will be making at some point where the merch, I believe it's the merch buff, or the buff, one of the buffs for Australian Survivor Australia versus the World is out. There was a photo posted on Facebook about it. I'm probably gonna make a post about it. Will I watch the season? Obviously, but this is not the same sort of Australian Survivor that we are talking about today. Okay, so am I really just gonna have to? Because this picture is just not. This picture is just not working. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, so I also need to write down which day it's 7 so I can, watch it instead of being like, oh, it's at 7:30 and then I click on it and I'm like, oh shit. Okay. If you guys have any like really fun takes on this season or just any takes, let me know because I mean this is what we're here for. So, and then obviously I'll click them and rate them and whatever else. Oh, you know what? That would be a good idea. I'm assuming that all the people watching this are on Twitter, but they're probably also on YouTube as well. That's another thing I need to consider. I should have both tabs open. It's alright, guys. We're getting more professional as we go. Okay. She's okay. Strand Survivor. No, that's the fan group. That's not the official group. Here we go. This is the real one. Okay, yes. Australian Survivor posted 13 minutes ago. 7:30 tonight. Will revenge be served with a picture of AJ, Yogan, and Miles on it? What do I actually think that's about? I mean, obviously, we saw last episode where fucking Miles played his advantage and he, stole Kristen's idol, which is fine. Like, I honestly don't think that's that bad of a move. I am a little bit nervous for Miles, though, in the sense that, like, if I'm Miles, like, why the fuck are these people caring so much about people not telling them certain shit? Like, that's a common thing in Survivor. I get the point where it's like if we're in the hunt, we have to tell each other everything. But at the same time, like, if I find an idol, and yes, I absolutely have to tell someone about it because I'm thinking it's like the only way to save my ass and to like get off the bottom or some shit. Or I'm like, if I don't make this move, I don't think I'm gonna win the season, then I'm not gonna tell someone I have an idol, Or like the same with his advantage, which even then I will say to Miles, I don't know how I feel about him telling AJ of all people. Like I get they're curious, but like I would not be telling AJ shit about my advantages or any of that stuff unless I like absolutely needed to in order to use it effectively, because obviously that's the main reason why people tell each other like why they have like an advantage or an idol, because I want to use it effectively. And obviously for me, I'm like, well, I guess that works. All right, we are. You know what? We're just gonna open the thing. I don't even care. Hold up. This is not what I should have put on. I should have put the other one on, but I guarantee you guys next episode, which will be tomorrow, I will I'll do that shit. Which, by the way, the fact that Australian Survivor has two. I mean, first of all, we have a non-elimination coming up, which like boring, hate that, fuck that. But more importantly, the fact that we have to. There's Australian Survivor is advertising two big nights of TV, and then it's like, oh, why aren't they advertising the third one? And then it's like, oh, because it's a non-elimination, and they know Australian Survivor fans are gonna be pissed off, which like is fine, but it's kind of funny a little bit. Okay, so obviously, let's just go for the people who aren't in the game real quick. Okay, so obviously the people who were left in the game are AJ, Kayan, Karen, Yora, Yogan, Miles, Zara for Brains, well, original Brains. And for OG Braun, we have Jesse, Kate, Kristen, Morgan, not PD went home yesterday. I was gonna say PD, but anyways, no. Polly, and Polly. So, like, when we're getting to the point where, like, soon, I'm not even going to need to pull this shit stuff. I'm just going to remember all the names on the top of my head, which, for the record, if you had asked me to list all the people, I probably could have. But it is one of those things where it's like, obviously, a picture of the cast is way easier to talk about it. And it's also more appealing to the audience who's watching this. Okay, so, what do I think about the promos Australian Survivor has posted? Well, to start off with, Karen, once again, gets, like, these promos every, like, 4 days, like, 3 to 4 days. And it definitely is her just explaining her thought process, which in some capacity is fine. But in another way, I kind of wish, if Karen is the winner of this season, I really hope that they, give her some screen time to talk about it, because it's great if we get shit in the promos, but if we don't get much in the episode, which, for the record, yes, Karen has been getting like one of the bigger edits and screen times in the season, but it is one of the things where it's like, I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people think that Miles is a frontrunner, which, to be fair, I also have changed my thoughts on Miles. Originally, I didn't think Miles stood a chance in the season. But that wasn't because I didn't like Miles. That was just because I felt like Miles was not one of these people who, had a chance, just based on the edit. I also feel like, realistically, I am super just like yesterday. I could talk about the bad gameplay, but we're not going to talk about it too much. But like, it wasn't. There was some pretty bad gameplay. There was also some exciting TV from an entertainment standpoint. So it's like, and yeah, I mean, obviously I was watching at a viewing party yesterday, so that's a different experience when you see a bunch of men go, yay, to when Miles whips out his advantages and, takes the idol. And also, the whole Miles playing an idol and Polly thing, I don't hate that for Miles. I want to make that very clear. I don't think that part is bad. I don't think him wanting to take Kristen's idol is bad either. I just think that if Miles was going to win the season, one, we would get more screen time between Miles and Polly, considering, like, this was last episode was, like, a really big moment between the two of them, and then we just didn't get that. Like, there was no, like, oh, I've really bonded with Polly. It's like, oh, here's a number, we can use him. It's like, he's desperate. It's like, okay, being desperate is great, but for Polly's long-term survival, only using someone because they're desperate is not, I mean, obviously that's a short-term goal, right? That's not a long-term goal. So for someone like Polly, I know one of my mates had talked about how he felt like Polly was starting to get a winners at it, and I was like, are we watching the same season? Like, yes, Polly has been getting one of the top screen times compared to other people, but like, I don't see it. Obviously, I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. And that's the fun part about this, where like you think you know something, and you go into the season with your biases and what you think's gonna happen, and based on history and like everything else, and then you're like completely wrong, and then you have to try to justify it to the audience. Like, no, guys, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a casual. No, whatever. I also just want to say, just real quick, um, yeah, I think with Karen, I think for her, if you look at her tweets on Twitter, not to call her out or anything, but they're definitely tweets that I feel like a winner would tweet. Like a lot of the things like her with champagne, which like of course it could just be a photo with her and champagne, but that definitely gives like a oh I won that season and I'm celebrating my win. Or like her being or like when she retweeted George's tweet when George tweeted like vote out the doctor and then Karen was like, no. She like Karen like retweeted that, and I was like, that is the perfect thing to retweet if you were the winner of the season. Like, but of course, those are things that aren't in the show, so a lot of my judgment is based on the editing and based on my perception of the game and what I think likely happened based on everything we've seen so far. Because I really feel like if we're going into this episode, I will say real quick what I think should have happened last episode, and then I'll go over this episode and what I think's gonna happen. So just quickly from last episode, going into this episode. Obviously PD was voted out, which I mean I he was at the premiere. I mean, he was at the viewing party, so that was kind of heartwarming, that he actually showed up. So that's cool. But as for like, so Peter gets voted out, Polly gets saved by Miles, and then the thing is, if I'm Miles, as we see in the promos, the Brain girls are like, fuck Miles and fuck AJ. Is that how they actually feel about them as people? No. But like from an editing standpoint, it's like, oh wow, fuck these people. Like they really think they're doing a number on us. Another thing to talk about is like for Miles, right? I think Miles in the last episode, Miles specifically was talking about how PD was someone he didn't have any relationship to. But my question is, do you have a relationship to Kate or Morgan? Like I know you were on, like the same. like, like I don't think you do. And it was one of the things where it was like, if I was Miles, I would have taken Kristen's idol. I would have used my idol on Polly if I genuinely was tight with Polly and I wanted to bring him in and I thought he would be loyal to me, which apparently Miles does, which is why he did it, right? Because obviously he wouldn't have done it if he didn't think he had some sort of bond that he could build up on with Polly. But it's that, and then the other thing that I'm thinking about is, from Miles' perspective, PD can't win most of these challenges. Let's not forget what happened to his arm shoulder. Like do we remember that, bro? He literally has to sit out of almost every challenge. Like if that was me, I would fucking use that, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna use this dude and take out the people who are connected to other people and who also can win a challenge. Because at the end of the day, once you get to final five, if you can win out the immunity challenges, it really doesn't matter if you're a target. Obviously, the goal is to not be a target, but once you get to final five, if you can just win the last three immunities, who cares? That's my perspective, at least. And yeah, I wouldn't want to play like a Mike Holloway sort of game. But I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen it time and time again, especially in the Strength Survivor. These competitions are super physical. And one of the big things to talk about with that is obviously if you're injured and you're forced to sit out the challenge, PD is seen as yes, a threat. And I know there was talks about PD possibly being like a social threat. Look, I'm not out there. I think there's definitely possibilities that PD could have been a social threat and he definitely could have had a shot at winning. But if you're looking at for Miles, who's his biggest obstacle? I would say it's between Morgan or Kate, right? Because from Miles' perspective, I think he wants to stay OG Brain at least a little bit younger. Obviously, his end game isn't going to be OG Brains. Realistically, he's not just going to put on OG Brawl. Like, if I'm Miles and I want OG Brain to stick together because I'm OG Brain and I want to keep picking up these OG Brawl members, he took the idol from Kristen. And here's the thing. There was also a part of me, a small part of me, that thought to myself, maybe he should use the idol. Yeah, not use that. Maybe he should take the idol from Kristen and then vote Kristen out. And then I thought about it and I was like, but if it's Kristen and Miles in the end, I think Miles has a pretty solid shot at beating her. Obviously, this is just based on the edit. There's a tons of shit we don't see outside of the show. And I know there's also a fear going around that Miles, if he is, obviously that sucks. But from my perspective, I don't really see it happening. Another thing I want to talk about is like, let's say that Miles doesn't vote out Kristen. So let's stick with Miles' original plan, right? But instead of voting for PD, he votes for Morgan or Kate. Morgan and Kate are going to be really good in these endurance challenges, which at the end of the season tend to be like the main factor between winning immunity and going home. So I think for me, it's like, okay, Miles, what are you gonna do? Because the thing is, let's say obviously this is like a what if scenario, but like let's say it's Miles and Morgan in the final three immunity challenge. Is it the final two? Is it the final three? I believe it's the final two. I have no idea. I just want to make that clear. But in that just hypothetical scenario, it's like, okay, Miles. So you want to have this? You're at final three with Morgan. Morgan is an Olympian. All right, she trains for endurance. She has fucking killer stamina, and we saw Kate. Yeah, she also looks like someone who would be good at these endurance challenges. So I think it's just one of those things where it's like I wouldn't want to burst that in the end game comps, especially if Miles does end up being like this massive power player who is, eventually targeted because people think he could have potential to win the season. Which might happen, but it also might not happen. And I think that's another thing to talk about with Kayan as well, where Kayan is someone where people feel like he's getting an under the radar edit. And as much as I agree, I also think part of me thinks, I mean, who's going to let Kayan get to the end? But also, we've seen this in other seasons of Australian Survival where, especially with Discuss specifically, what makes sense in my head, these people don't give a shit about that. They don't care about that, all right? They just don't know whether they don't know what the right move is or whether they think they're making the right move and they're just incorrect. But another thing to talk about is they have more information than I do. Where like I know one of the preseason things that we saw in the Shannon Gus interview for like Kenzie elimination, for example, was the fact that he was like wanting to originally protect Miles and he wanted to go after Miles because Miles had gone around telling his tribe that Kent had an idol, which is it true or not? I don't know. I wasn't fucking there, but I'm assuming it's true. I mean, I don't see why you would make up a lie about that. And another thing is like, I just feel like for me specifically, I just feel like Miles. Like, what is Miles' plan going forward now that Peter's gone? Like, okay, he takes out PD, someone who can't win immunity challenges, or at least short term, right? Maybe he'll be better off later. Like, he might say, oh, he doesn't need two arms to hold on to a statue. What if it's the peg challenge where they're holding it like this? What if that happens? If that's the case, then like I mean, someone's at a severe disadvantage only being able to use one of their fucking hands. And another thing is like, if I'm Miles and I want to make, because the thing is, Miles was like, oh, the lines are going to be drawn. No one wants to draw lines. Miles, obviously I would suggest trying to not piss people off. But if you are going to piss people off, if you're going to piss people off, you might as well get out someone who's going to weaken the girls. And what I mean by the girls is, I'm talking about the Girls Alliance, the Girls Gone Wild crew, but I'm also, which is your, I mean, is that even a thing? I mean, I wouldn't even call it Girls Gone Wild at this point. I call it, Morgan, Kate, Yora, and Yoga. Like, that's a thing where they, like, quite all from Melbourne, so they all might work together. No. Whether this is, like, a long-term solid thing, obviously is up for debate. But I know the Girls Gone Wild Alliance is obviously Zara and Yora and Morgan and Kate, but we all know that what happened between Zara and Yora. And I know people are talking about how the coven is still a thing, and how it's like the middle-aged mafia from the art season, where like they have to work together, but they don't want to work together. And it's like, I mean, obviously, we're going to need to know more information before I can fully depict everything. But from what we're being shown and what I know, and from like, the interviews I've listened to, I do think that realistically, for Miles, his biggest obstacle is Morgan and Kate. Because once he takes out Morgan and Kate, I mean, if you look at the board, realistically, you take away numbers from the potential old girl crew that is formed or is forming or has already formed, and no, whatever. You also take out two of the best challenge competitors and two people who realistically, I don't really see them being bad socially. Like I don't see that. Obviously they could be bad socially and they could, you know, rub people the wrong way. But based from what we've seen, I don't think that's likely. And I think even though I might not fully be like, oh, they should win this season, from an outside perspective, I mean, not winner, sorry, I was thinking about winner from last season. Morgan from last season, no, Morgan, sorry guys, having a giant mind blank. But I mean, Morgan, she was my winner pick pre-season for this season. So, like, it does make me think that, okay, she might be, a problem for Castaways. But same with Cape's Water. I think the only other thing with the Miles thing is, what is his PA name for? Obviously, he's tight with AJ. He's tight with KN. He's tight with Polly. Is this a boys' club? Are we doing Bomb Squad 2.0? I'm not really sure. I mean, Rich is gone, so you would think not. Or you would hope not, for his sake at least. You would hope he's not doing that. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is the fact that Kayin decided to choose Miles and AJ, well, more so Miles over Yogan, which is a very interesting thing. But I mean, we have seen super early on Kayin and Miles talking, and their bond seems to be one of the more important relationships that they exist, but they're not super like public, as opposed to like the duos that everyone was talking about last Tribal or last night's episode specifically, where like quite everyone has a buddy, and then it was like, oh yeah, Morgan and Kate are buddies, Kristen and Peter are buddies, AJ and Miles are buddies, Karen and Zara are buddies, Yora and Yogan are buddies. That's like, okay. I mean, I will say, if I'm Kayan, where the fuck does that leave him? Like, no, like everyone was like from the edit. It was like, oh yeah, Paul's the only one without a buddy. It's like, who's Kayan's buddy? It's like, I guess Miles and Kayan are a thing, but Miles also is a buddy with AJ, so it's both, I guess. I don't know. And then it's also like, okay, AJ has this useful information from Kayan, because Kayan told AJ that Yogan has an idol. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I fucked up before. I should have said that AJ told Kayan. But anyways, about Yogan's idol. Yogan and Kayan were there when Yogan found her idol. Which, by the way, we're assuming Yora knows, right? Because we've got nothing about Yora being told about Yogan's idol. So, are we supposed to know that Yogan just hasn't told Yora? Or do we know that Yora knows about it? Which is one of the main reasons why I personally don't think Yora isn't winning this season. And I also think Yogan probably isn't winning this season either, just based on the fact that I have these questions that, like, if they were going to win this season, I feel like are very important to the storyline of the specific players who are playing the season. Yeah, I know I just went on a whole tangent, but that's how it goes here, fam. Okay, so now that we've cleared out the last episode, let's talk about what I realistically think is going to happen. To be honest, I my instant reaction is that the guys are gonna get picked off, right? You would think. But at the same time, the edit seems to make it sound like Miles is going to go really far and has like a really good shot at winning. And like I just feel like when I was watching the season so far, the edit makes it sound like they want us to root for AJ. But as we've seen with the fandom seems to have picked Yogan's side over AJ, which is fine. But I also was like, is that because that's what we think's gonna happen, or is that because that's what we want to happen? And another thing to talk about is like, what is some of these players doing? Like, now that PD's gone, what's Kristen gonna do? Is she gonna link up with Polly again? Or is she just gonna ditch Polly because she thinks that Polly is fucking isolated? Like, could we see like a Miles, Kane, AJ, Polly, Kristen the crew? Like, is that a possibility? Maybe. I'm also think like I do see a world where like the Coven, specifically the Coven, kind of just continues to run the game, but then once they get to like top 8, then they like self implode and like a Zara gets taken out, and then like a Laura gets taken out potentially, or a Yogan, or both of them. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I feel confident that Miles and Karen are going to keep going far. Everyone in the fandom seems to think Kayan has more longevity, and I would think that, but I also think that, like, I think he's probably going to be good tonight, but I do worry for Kayan the younger we are. The closer we get to the finale, I am a bit more nervous for Kayan specifically. Because if everyone's like, oh yeah, Kayan can beat Polly in the immunity challenge, which is what they said last episode, then like, once they get rid of Polly, if they get rid of Polly, but once they get rid of Polly, it's like, okay, well, I guess Kayan's the next guy on the hit list. I mean, if the girls from OG Brain, aka Yora, Yogan, Zara, and Karen do actually stick together, aka the Coven, then I guess they're not going to want to go after Morgan and Kate yet. And then that means if Polly wins immunity, is like, are they gonna, like, I don't know. You would think they would go for AJ or Miles based on the editing. But it's also like, are they going to go for Kristen? Like, or does no one see Kristen as a threat? Like, that's one of the number one things. Other than does Yora know about Yogan's idol that I personally want to know currently? I want to know what Kristen is doing. Like, is she? Like, do people view her as a threat? Like, does she have win equity, or are people like all wanting to drag her to the end? That's something that obviously we don't know the answer to that to yet, but we're going to find out eventually. Oh my god! Well, I'm staring at this cast, just trying to picture in my head what I think is gonna happen. Okay, so I guess the main other thing is, who do I think is going tonight? I mean, honestly, based on the editing, I'm actually pretty lost. One of the first times this season, I feel like I'm actually pretty lost on what's going to happen. But I feel like as soon as I start the episode, I'm gonna be like, oh, this is who's going home. Because last episode, PD randomly started getting a shit ton of screen time, and they were staring at his like fucking face for way too long. And I was like, well, they were giving him moments that like they didn't give him before. So I was like, okay, Peter's going. Plus the fact that he rocked up to the event and he's not even from Melbourne, I was like, this is a clear sign that he's going home, right? Like, you're not going to travel to an event to watch a random episode unless you're going home or you're impactful in that episode, you would think. And also, I don't know how dedicated Peter is as a fan. Like, I know that he obviously has seen the show and has been watching the show for a while, but I don't know the logistics behind it, obviously. So it'd be great to know more about it, even though I did talk to Yogan yesterday, and she did give me insights on like who the recruits were. And yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm not too shocked about it. It's a lot of the pre-merge people, like um, Jesse, for example. It's like, okay, well, I kind of expected that, so I'm not too surprised by it. So now I maybe I should post my elimination order from this. Maybe is that what you guys would want to see? Would you guys want to see me try to name the elimination order from this point forward? I mean, it's something that I thought about doing, but I also feel like if it goes horribly wrong, like nah. Okay, so I guess I haven't really had a chance to look in the chat yet. So since we are young, does anyone have any questions? Because it says that 20 people are watching this live. So we'll just give everyone a moment. Got any questions, anyone? Oh, it's 7:07 my time. That is awesome. Which means the episode's on in 23 minutes. So I'm debating if I want to keep this going or if I've said everything I want to say. Obviously, predictions wise, the edit wants like Yogan and AK and shit are gonna go after each other. Will they go after each other? I don't know. It's definitely giving like Ferris and Kirby when they say they're rivals, but then they don't go for each other for a fucking while. And then right near the end, they're forced to go for each other, or at least Ferris wants to take out Kirby, and then Ferris doubts himself and he's like, was that the right decision, or am I making an emotional play? No, whatever. I think for me, my biggest thing for the rest of the season, specifically what my hopes are, is that it's not just like this is going to sound really bad, but I don't want it to be a woman's steamroll. I don't want it to be girl power all the way. Um, Realistically, do I see that? No, I think the couple will break up. And I am hopeful that Kate and Morgan realize where they are positioning wise with the girls, and that even though they're with the girls, they're going to be near the bottom of that AI. So, like, I mean, well, you would think from an outside perspective they're at the bottom of the AI, but I could definitely see them being potential swing votes in the sense that, like, obviously Yogan and Nora are a pair, and Karen and Zara are a pair. And another thing I want to talk about is with last episode, just a real quick. Randomly out of nowhere, we see Yogan start not dissing Yora, but like just being like Yora wants to control everything. And she like made a slight comment about how like if Yora doesn't do what I want, maybe it's her time to go, or something to that effect. And I was like, would Yogan vote out Yora? I mean, based on Yogan's game so far, I would think not, right? At least not yet. But also, that's another thing where it's like, how tight are these alliances? How solid are they? What are their perceptions of the game around them? Because obviously, yeah, my perception of the game, but I don't know what their perception is. We are once again unmuted on my other tab. My apologies. Okay, so now that we've really covered everything I've really wanted to cover, I guess we will go into like what I think's gonna happen tonight. Okay, so tonight I will say my biggest thing is that I feel like, what do I actually think is gonna happen? That's actually a fun discussion point, actually. Um, I mean, you would think that I could see Yora going potentially. Just based on the fact that AJ sees her as a massive threat, the fact that her name's been circulated so many times as like the biggest threat in the game. She's the most powerful player. She has the most connections, playing the best game. Da, da, da. But obviously, this is majority of the stuff coming from AJ. Whether people agree with that or not is obviously another thing. I also want to talk about Karen and her logic with not wanting to trust AJ because she didn't tell her about the idol, which, like, I get it, but as I said, or I think I've said this in this stream, if I haven't said it on this stream, I'll say it now. Like, I'm not really sure what Karen expected. Like, I guess the whole thing of like, yeah, you are trying to be clear to someone, so you would, if they are your solid alliance to the end, you would want the graduates to be solid, and you would want to tell them everything. But at the same time, this is Survivor, and yeah, I've always said to myself that when I get onto the show specifically, that I would never tell someone something if I didn't think I needed to do it. Like, I wouldn't just tell them that casually. Just because you're my aunt doesn't mean I'm going to tell you I have a super powerful advantage that's going to ruin a bunch of people's game. I mean, that could potentially impact the season. And yes, we had a good moment. And yes, these things do create good moments, but at the same time, it's also like they also really fuck some people's games over. Like some of the really decent players get taken out here, or people who have real potential to like fucking be a contender, or were a contender. Or I saw lots of upside in their games. And honestly, had Peter not been taken out last episode, there's definitely talks about how he could have, done well in the season. How he could have, been this under the radar threat who like gets carried and then I don't know. You know, there's a lot of hypotheticals out there, but I will cover every one of them. But with that being said, I've run out of shit to say for Australian Survivor specifically. But if I have to guess who's in trouble tonight, it's realistically Polly again, obviously. It's also Yora. I want to say AJ or Logan, but I just think the fact that they're pushing this, they're going after each other agenda so much makes me think otherwise. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, anyways, thank you all for watching, and till tomorrow. Uh, peace out. Which, by the way, tomorrow expect almost nothing from my recap. Well, not a recap, but like hangout pre-episode because let's be honest, it's gonna be another elimination realistically, so get prepared for this. And peace out, Survivor fam.